My father-in-law and I had both married into the powerful Carrington family. He and my mother-in-law, Catherine, were childhood sweethearts with a deep and enduring love. But one day my father-in-law, Arthur, grabbed my hand, crying, "Oscar, your mother-in-law, she's got a man on the side, and they even have a child together." I've been kept in the dark for over a decade, made a complete fool of. My own eyes welled up. "Dad, actually, Ella has someone too. She bought the guy an entire building." We held each other and wept. After a long while, Arthur sniffled and said, "You can trust a woman about as much as you can trust a pig to fly." "Oscar, I'm done with that old woman." "Dad, I'm with you. I'm done with that younger one too." My father-in-law and I were instantly on the same page, and we began to plan our escape. After considering our options, faking our own deaths seemed like the perfect solution. Although Arthur came from a good family himself, he had been with Catherine since they were kids and married into the Carrington family at 20. He'd been a devoted stay-at-home husband ever since, quite naive really, but he could definitely act the part. "Oscar, this is all I have on hand. How do we get started?" I looked at the documents Arthur handed me, and my eyes nearly popped out of my head with envy. $2 billion. Arthur was truly one of Fortune's favorites. Compared to him, my own 30 million seemed pitiful. Still, it was more than enough to last us 3 lifetimes. "Dad, I have a plan." Arthur agreed to follow my lead, so I immediately set things in motion. My mother-in-law's birthday was in 2 days, and we decided to hold the party on a cruise ship. For one, it was a novel idea, and for another, it would make our escape easier. With time being short, we outsourced all the arrangements. As for the catalyst for our deaths, it would naturally be that other man. If he had the nerve to accept an entire building from Ella, he had to be ready to face the consequences. On the day of the party, Arthur wore a Versace suit, his mature, composed face betraying nothing. My mother-in-law, Catherine Carrington, stood beside him. Though older, she was impeccably preserved and drew the gazes of many wealthy men. As guests milled about, she flashed a smile and gave me a subtle nod from across the crowd. We both knew what was about to happen. Just then my wife, Ella, came to my side and looped her arm through mine. "Oscar, you look so handsome tonight." The warmth of her hand on my arm sent a shiver through me, and I instinctively pulled back. "You're beautiful tonight, too. You're attracting so many admirers. I feel like I've been shot down by their stares 1,000 times over." A number of handsome young men were indeed staring at Ella. She leaned her cheek against my shoulder and murmured, "They can look, but they can't touch. I belong only to you." I fought back my disgust, my eyes meeting the gaze of the man across the room, and forced a smile that didn't reach my eyes. What a shame. Someone's going to be heartbroken. "Ella, that building is worth a fortune. It seems Mr. Leo holds a very special place in your heart." Ella froze for a second, dropping her arm and saying sternly, "Don't get the wrong idea. It's all for business. I understand. Spending a fortune for love, right?" Ella tried to explain further, but I just patted her arm. "I'm going to go check on Dad. You enjoy yourself." Leo walked over and engaged her in conversation, giving me the perfect chance to make my way to Arthur. When I reached his side, he pulled me out onto the deck. "Oscar, are you ready?" "Yeah, I'm ready. Don't worry." We shared a knowing smile. Just then, Leo appeared. "Oscar, Mr. Vance, you're here too." Arthur's face was a mask of vigilance. "Mr. Leo, you sweet-talked my daughter into buying you a building, and now you have the audacity to show your face to me." The color drained from Leo's face. "Sir, I didn't." Ella did it of her own free will. Slap. Arthur couldn't take it anymore and struck him across the face. Leo was stunned. I sneered, calling her Ella this and Ella that all day. "Who do you think you are? My father-in-law only has one daughter, Ella. What makes you think you're a brother?" "Leo, do your fans on TikTok know how shameless you were behind the scenes?" Leo was furious. Clutching his face, he lunged at me. As Arthur and I scuffled with him, I lost my footing, stumbled backward, and tumbled over the railing into the sea. "Oscar!" Arthur screamed, lunging over the railing to grab me, but his hand caught nothing but air. Leo was horrified. "No, it wasn't me. If it wasn't you, then who is it? You give me back my son-in-law." Arthur grabbed him and started dragging him toward the railing. Terrified, Leo gave a violent shove. A heart-wrenching scream echoed from behind them. "Dad!" Panic erupted on the cruise ship as people began searching frantically. Not far away, I was pulled from the water into a rescue boat. Arthur was beside me, his voice trembling in my ear. "Oscar, are you okay?" "I'm fine, Dad." Wrapped in a blanket, I watched the chaotic scene on the distant cruise ship as it slowly faded from view. I finally let out a sigh of relief. Later, after we were safely ashore, we sat on a sofa watching the news. A massive headline made both of us frown. Hashtag tragedy at Carrington CEO's birthday gala. Father and son-in-law both fall overboard. Feared lost at sea hashtag on the screen. Leo's face was pale, and his eyes were red as he sobbed. I didn't mean to. I didn't push them. They fell on their own. Leo was led away by the police. Ella and Catherine both looked grim, especially Ella, who appeared completely distraught. I watched this and couldn't help but scoff before turning off the television. Arthur patted the back of my hand. Don't worry. They're just putting on an act. With us dead, they're probably ecstatic. You just watch. Leo will be out in less than 2 days. And that's when Catherine's lover will make his appearance. I nodded. Just as Arthur predicted, Leo was released 3 days later. A swarm of reporters descended on the scene. Due to a lack of evidence, Leo was released, and on that day, Ella herself was there to pick him up. The reporters mobbed them. A forest of cameras and microphones pointed in their direction. Ms. Carrington, it's rumored that Leo had an argument with the two men. Was that related to them going overboard? Does this mean you've forgiven him, Ms. Carrington? What's the latest on the search? Has the Carrington family called it off? Ella's face was dark. Please refer to the official statements. I watched the video and couldn't help but sneer. Ella, you're unbelievable. That man is the apple of your eye, isn't he? You can't even bring yourself to blame him. You're actually protecting him. Furious, I closed the video and decided to take Arthur on a trip around the world. Having money really changes things. For security, we opened an offshore account that no one could trace. Our days were filled with lavish parties and unrestrained indulgence. We couldn't have been happier. The only strange thing was the Carrington family's decision. No bodies, no funeral. This led to widespread speculation about whether we were actually dead. The rumors were flying, but I remained completely unfazed. Sunbathing and watching the beautiful women on the beach every day, life couldn't be more relaxing. After more than half a year of this, even I started to get a little bored, so Arthur and I returned to the States and opened a bed and breakfast in a scenic spot in the Catskills. We spent our days welcoming guests and collecting payments. It was a comfortable and satisfying life. The news stories about us in the papers and on TV gradually faded away. I thought we could live like this forever, and so did Arthur. We had even started calling each other father and son, occasionally hitting the bars to meet beautiful women. Arthur was quite open-minded about it, and we'd sit there critiquing them together. But the good times came to a sudden halt. It was peak tourist season, and business at the BB was booming. I landed a huge booking. A guest wanted the place for a whole month. They even offered an extra $20,000 on the condition that no one else could stay, a deal I happily accepted. When I learned it was just 2 people, I promised them they would have the entire detached villa to themselves. I even stocked the villa with plenty of food and drinks. They sounded like a young couple on a romantic getaway. I was determined to give them the best service. Arthur was thrilled when he heard. Before the guest arrived, he dragged me out to do a Wandering Swordsman-themed photo shoot. Life is for living, Oscar. Look at you, so handsome. In a few days, I'll set you up on some dates. You're still young. You can't waste your life pining for Ella. His words warmed my heart. Of course, I knew he was right. Dad, I know. Ella was just a mistake. If I meet the right person, I won't say no. Speaking of which, Dad, I've noticed Mrs. Peterson from next door coming over a lot. Are you thinking about a second chance at love? He pursed his lips, a little embarrassed. Mrs. Peterson is attractive enough, I suppose, but she's no Catherine. A chill went down my spine. Dad, you can't possibly still be thinking about my ex-mother-in-law, can you? Please. He rolled his eyes in disgust. Ever since I found out what a rotten person she is, I haven't had a single thought about getting back with her. But you know, we were together since we were kids. After all that time, it's hard to just immediately start seeing other women. Arthur's tone then shifted. Although, some of the younger women these days are quite nice. I could give that a try. Hearing him say that made my eyes light up. It seems that men are boys at heart, always preferring younger women no matter their age. That's an easy fix. I snapped my fingers. I heard the bar down the street has a lot of new girls, all different types. They even do cosplay. Should we go check it out tonight? Arthur and I were in complete agreement. We decided on the spot to go that very night. After the photo shoot, the makeup artist took a couple of extra pictures of me, gushing, "You're the most charismatic swordsman I've ever worked with. Can I post this on my TikTok?" I quickly replied, "Sure, but only a side profile. No full face shots." "No problem." She posted the side profile shot to her TikTok to promote her work, and I didn't think much of it. That evening, Arthur and I changed our clothes and headed straight for the bar. Even though Arthur was pushing 50, his pampered lifestyle meant he didn't look his age at all. Under the dim lights, we sat on a plush sofa as the manager expertly brought out a line of women for us to choose from. I pulled out 2 thick wads of cash and tossed them onto the table. Bring us your best. Don't bother with the rest. The manager hastily pulled a few of the newer girls to the front. I clicked my tongue. Is that all? I heard you had a couple of real knockouts who just started. Arthur casually rotated the diamond watch on his wrist. The manager's eyes lit up. Don't you worry, sir. They'll be right out. I nodded, but after waiting for what felt like an eternity, I sighed. Looks like this place isn't all it's cracked up to be. The quality is inconsistent. No sooner had I spoken than 2 figures appeared at the entrance. There was something familiar about their silhouettes, and though they wore masks, their figures were undeniably impressive. They wore simple, low-cut dresses, yet carried themselves with an air of elegance. My eyes widened, and I sat up straighter. Gentlemen, the manager purred. Our club's crown jewels. I waved a dismissive hand, and the manager tactfully withdrew. As they entered, they looked at Arthur and me, the corners of their mouths curling into smiles. I suddenly felt a chill run down my spine. Something felt very wrong. My heart skipped a beat. Dad, I whispered, does something seem off about them to you? They have great figures, Oscar, but I can't shake the feeling that they look familiar. One of the women stepped forward and pulled me into her embrace. The familiar scent of cedar sent a jolt through my heart. Oscar, are you satisfied with what you see? The familiar voice made my mind go blank with a deafening roar. I was completely shattered. With a trembling hand, I reached out and removed her mask. A pair of stunning, almond-shaped eyes stared back at me, and the room began to spin. Well, Oscar, bringing my father here to live it up. Have you had your fun yet? On the other side, Catherine had also removed her mask. She stared at Arthur's triumphant grin, her own expression darkening. Arthur Vance, you have some explaining to do. At that, Arthur's eyes rolled back into his head, and he collapsed in a dramatic faint. I wanted to faint too, but the next second, Ella grabbed my wrist, cupped the back of my head, and kissed me hard. I shoved her away, wiping my mouth, my face a thundercloud. Don't touch me. Isn't Leo keeping you company? Why are you running around playing the devoted wife? Who are you trying to fool? Ella stared at me for a long moment, then broke into a laugh. There is no Leo. Don't try to fool me. I saw it all. The reporters confirmed it. How long do you plan on lying to me? Hearing this, she laughed again. What's this? Are you jealous? Jealous my ass. Get away from me. Beside us, Catherine pulled Arthur to his feet. Ella, handle your man. We'll deal with our own business. With that, she supported the still-dazed Arthur and strode out of the bar. I tried to follow, but Ella blocked my path, wrapping an arm around my shoulders and forcibly steering me out of the bar. The club owner started to approach, but one icy glare from her sent him retreating. Ella dragged me back to the BB. I struggled against her grip. The guests are there. Let go of me. I'm a guest. I made the booking. I felt like I'd been struck by lightning. I never would have guessed it was her. I should have known. Who else would be so generous as to book the entire place for a month? Ella led me into the villa and stood there, hands on her hips. I had to admit, she was a stunning woman. Her full chest and slender waist were dazzling to look at. After months of being surrounded by beautiful women, I thought I had become immune, but I still couldn't help but stare at Ella. What do you want? I should be asking you that. Faking your death, and not just your own, but dragging my father into your nonsense. Oscar, you've got some nerve. I sneered. You're the one who forced my hand. You bought a building for Leo. What right does a cheating wife have to question me? I stood up to leave, but she shoved me back onto the bed, pinning my wrists above my head. Oscar, nothing happened. It's not what you think between me and Leo. Stop lying to me. You knew he was the one who pushed me into the ocean, yet you still bailed him out and said it was nothing. You're a heartless user. I kicked her shin, and she grunted in pain. I used the moment to throw her off, yanked open the door, and stormed out, only to be blocked by a bodyguard. Sir, Ms. Carrington has instructed that you are not to leave the building. I turned and shot a furious glare back at Ella, who had followed me out. You're not getting out of here. If you dare to leave, I'll make sure your family regrets it. Not even my family knew where I was. I hadn't dared to contact them. Now Ella was using them to threaten me, and I clenched my fists in rage. You don't have to look at me like that. All I know is that for what you've done, both you and my father will pay the price. Ella, you dare. I'll kill you. I raged impotently, but she remained completely unfazed. Ella crooked a finger at me. Come on, let's talk. I took a deep breath. Fine, let's talk. I'm not afraid of you. I just wondered how Arthur was holding up. I glanced toward the other room upstairs, for which I could hear commotion. Ella covered my eyes with her hand. Don't worry about it. My mother would never truly hurt my father. I slapped her hand away, my face filled with contempt. You and your mother are two of a kind. The older one has a lover and an illegitimate son on the side, and the younger one keeps a boy toy and buys him a building. Ella, don't you realize your position is precarious? Your mother's other child will surely come back to fight you for the family inheritance. Ella looked at me, bewildered. An illegitimate son fighting for the inheritance? Oscar, have you been reading too many novels? What have you been learning from my father all day? And to think you graduated from an Ivy League school. I shot her a glare. This is all your and your mother's doing. How dare you blame me? Oscar, you really need to get your head checked. My mother does not have an illegitimate son, and my relationship with Leo is not what you think. Like hell I believe you. Right, it's not. Keep denying it. Even the reporters could see what was going on. I'll ask you this. You knew he pushed me and my father-in-law overboard. So why did you bail him out? And that building, didn't you buy it with your money? Answer me, yes or no. Ella sighed in resignation. Yes. Then that settles it. I threw my hands up. In that case, we should just get a divorce. Divorce? Are you serious? Of course I am. I don't want to be with you anymore. When we got married, I said I was fine marrying into your family, but I needed a wife who was completely devoted to me, not one who fools around on the side. There's no room for a third person in our marriage. Ella looked at me with a strange expression. Leo is just a new actor signed to my production company. I have him shooting a series to make money for the company. He only has the right to use that building. He doesn't own it. In fact, the property is registered under your name. I was stunned, afraid I wouldn't believe her. Ella pulled out her phone and showed me a picture of the deed. The building was purchased in your name. I told Leo he could live there for as long as he needed. Do you understand? No, I don't understand. All I know is that you doted on him in public and let everyone think he was the new Mr. Carrington. I shot her a glare. Let's just get a divorce and go our separate ways. Then it won't be my business who you decide to keep as a pet. Just as I finished speaking, a roar of anger erupted from the next room. It was Arthur. Stop lying to me. That man all but brought the child right to my face. Catherine, we've been together since we were kids, supporting each other all this time. And this is how you repay me. The boy is already 16. How long did you plan on deceiving me? With a loud bang, the door flew open and Arthur stormed out. Seeing the tears in my eyes, he grabbed my hand. Let's go. Ignore them. Throw them out. I hesitated. But Dad, they're the guests who booked the place for a month. What? Arthur was stunned. He never imagined it was them. What terrible luck, he muttered. Pay them off and make them leave. Catherine came out of the room. We don't want your money. Arthur, please, just listen to me explain. I'm not listening. We're getting a divorce. Oscar, call the lawyers. If they won't agree to our terms, we'll sue. Arthur and I exchanged a look. We were both ready. This had to end. Hearing this, Catherine clutched her chest, her face turning pale. Arthur, you don't believe me? I'm with you all the time. Where would I have found the time to have a child? She swayed on her feet, but Arthur was unmoved. Stop the act. I'm telling you. Before he could finish his sentence, Catherine collapsed to the floor with a thud. Arthur immediately cried out, Catherine, wake up. Ella, you foolish girl, what are you standing there for? Your mother fainted. Call an ambulance, quick. Ella, now frantic, rushed to get her to the hospital, and I followed along. Arthur paced anxiously outside the hospital room. Watching him, I couldn't help but say, Dad, it seems you do still care about her. Who says? I'm just worried that if she dies on our property, we'll never be able to do business here again. He had a point. I nodded in agreement. If someone died at our BB, we'd be finished. Seeing his stubborn denial, I couldn't help but sigh. Ella spoke up from the side, her voice low and firm. I don't know where you two heard this gossip, but it's completely untrue. You're just slinging mud. Stop helping her lie to me. The man's name is David, his son is 16, and he's the spitting image of her mother. You ungrateful girl. And to think you're my daughter, siding with your mother like this. Arthur shot her a venomous look. Just as Ella was about to explain, Catherine stirred in the bed. She quickly reached out and grabbed Arthur's hand. Arthur, don't leave me. Arthur looked annoyed, but the doctor interjected. The patient can't handle any stress right now. Any emotional distress could cause a cerebral hemorrhage. It would be best if a family member stayed with her. Hearing this, Arthur had no choice but to stay, albeit reluctantly. He turned to me and said, "Oscar, you go get some rest. Dad, I'll be in the waiting room. Call me if you need anything." I couldn't just leave him there alone, so I went to the adjacent waiting area, where it was just me and Ella. She was about to say something when her phone rang. Ella impatiently declined the call, but I clearly saw the name Leo on the screen. "Go on, answer it. You wouldn't want him to be sad." Ella hesitated, but the phone kept ringing. With no other choice, she finally answered. The moment she did, the color drained from her face. "What did you say?" I scoffed. "What a performance." I just shook my head without a word and turned to the window, staring out at the distant, flickering lights under the dark blue sky. I could hear muffled voices from the next room. It sounded like Catherine was explaining something to Arthur. I had no idea if they would reconcile, but I knew things were over between Ella and me. "Oscar, wait for me here. Something's come up. I'll be right back." With that, she rushed out, leaving her bodyguard behind. I let out a cold laugh, my heart sinking. I opened my phone to find a new iMessage. It was from Leo. "Mr. Miller, things between Ms. Carrington and I are not what you think. Please don't misunderstand." Reading his two-faced message, I was suddenly alarmed. How did he know I was still alive? And how did he get my new number? Just then, a low male voice drifted in from the hallway. "Mr. Vance, please don't hold it against me. I know you're upset, but I truly didn't mean any harm. He's a Carrington, too. Chris, get on your knees and apologize to your uncle." I heard a thud, followed by Arthur's furious voice. "Who are you calling uncle, you bastard?" I rushed out to see a refined-looking man and a young boy kneeling before Arthur, whose eyes were red with rage. I immediately shoved the man aside. "Are you insane? Coming here to stake your claim?" I pointed at the bodyguard. "Get them out of here." The boy behind him stepped forward. "What are you doing? Don't you bully my dad. Your dad was bullying my father first." We faced off like a pair of fighting cocks. The man, David, had a strange expression. "I just came to check on her. I didn't mean anything else. You're disturbing my father-in-law and his wife. Please leave right now." Seeing my fury, the two of them stepped aside but didn't leave, just lingered by the doorway. Just then, Catherine's voice came from the hospital room. "Let them in." I was furious, but Arthur calmly patted my hand, his eyes fixed on his phone as he messaged someone. After David went inside, we couldn't hear what was said, but soon the sound of crying emerged. Arthur and I exchanged a look of confusion. Arthur snorted. "So dramatic." I nodded in agreement, and then my thoughts turned to Ella. "By the way, Dad, I think Leo knows I'm not dead. He just sent me a message." I handed him my phone. Arthur stared at it, stunned. Just as he was about to speak, the door opened. "Arthur, Oscar, both of you come in." Arthur and I went inside. Catherine was lying in bed. "Let me introduce you. This is David. I recognize him. You don't need to introduce us. He's your illegitimate son, isn't he?" "You've misunderstood." David finally spoke up. "The child is a Carrington, but it has nothing to do with Catherine. He's Crystal's son." "What? But she died years ago." As realization dawned on Arthur's face, Catherine explained, "She left behind a child." David gave a bitter smile. "I've been raising him in the countryside all this time, but we just can't make ends meet anymore. That's why I came looking for the Carringtons. He's a brilliant student, but staying with me is holding him back." David pleaded, "I know you've misunderstood, but I'm out of options. Mr. Vance, I'm begging you, please take Chris in." "Dad, I'll stay with you even if it means we have nothing to eat. I'm not going anywhere." The boy, Chris, was resolute. It was only then that I noticed the boy was still in his school uniform. I couldn't believe he was Ella's cousin. Why hadn't Catherine explained this earlier? Catherine sighed. "I had only met with David twice. I had just transferred $100,000 to him when your father-in-law found out and became relentless. I was planning to explain everything on my birthday, but who could have known? Later, when I found you both, he still wouldn't listen to my explanation. So I decided to just bring them here to clear things up in person. This is the paternity test. The test was done back when Crystal was still alive. So that was the truth. And all this time, Arthur thought David was her lover. This was a disaster. I was stunned. Catherine looked at me. "Oscar, please take them outside for a moment." "Arthur, you stay. I have something to say to you." Arthur's expression was uneasy. I patted his shoulder. "Just say what's on your mind. I've got your back." Arthur nodded, and I led David and his son out of the room. Once outside, I felt a bit embarrassed. "I'm really sorry about that. It was a huge misunderstanding." "It's all right," David said. "I was foolish too. I should have contacted Mr. Vance directly. Chris looks so much like his mother. It's no wonder he misunderstood. But what's going on with you and Ella? She doesn't seem like the type to be reckless." Just thinking about Ella made me angry. She still hadn't returned. Let me get you settled in a hotel for the night. It's getting late. We can sort everything out tomorrow. David nodded, and I took them to a nearby hotel and got them checked in. Afterwards, I tried calling Ella. To my shock, it was Leo who answered. Where's Ella? Mr. Miller, Ms. Carrington is in the shower. Maybe you can call back later. He hung up. I clenched my fist so hard my knuckles turned white. Damn him. How dare he lie to me? I was seething with rage, wanting nothing more than to drag her in front of me and demand an explanation. But why should I let her lead me around by the nose? I called over one of the bodyguards. Find Ella. If you can't find her, you're all fired. The bodyguard, not daring to take my threat lightly, left immediately. I then contacted my lawyer and had him confirm whether the building in New York was in my name. If it was, he was to immediately inform Leo to get the hell out. Why should another man be living in my house? The lawyer was quick. He confirmed the property was indeed in my name. In that case, it was time for Leo to pack his bags. As a result of my actions, Leo completely lost it and called me immediately. Oscar, what is the meaning of this? Are you trying to ruin me? Isn't this what you wanted? You tried to steal my wife. You should have been prepared for the consequences. I'm giving you 1 day. Get out of my house. I hung up and blocked his number. Now, he was the one who should be panicking. I wasn't worried. An hour later, the bodyguards returned with Ella. Her face was flushed, and she clung to me, murmuring, Oscar. I only want Oscar. Sir, one of the bodyguards said, Ms. Carrington was drugged. When we found her, Leo was taking off her clothes and taking pictures. Hearing this, I exploded with rage. Where is he? We brought him with us. With a thud, Leo was forced to his knees in front of me. His hair was a mess, and a red handprint was visible on his cheek. He looked pathetic. He gritted his teeth. I was so close. You're a lucky man, Oscar. Even drugged, she was still calling out for you. I raised my hand and slapped him hard across the face. Who the hell do you think you are, trying to steal my wife? Make sure he's out of that house, and I want him blacklisted everywhere. The bodyguards nodded and dragged Leo away. I took Ella to a private room, where a doctor examined her, and I started in 4. She would be fine once the drug wore off. I was about to leave when Ella grabbed my hand. Oscar, don't go. It's all my fault. Please don't leave me. She was drowsy, but she didn't forget to apologize. Looking at her flushed cheeks, I couldn't help but sigh. I patted her hand. I'm not going anywhere. Ella held my hand in a death grip. I stayed with her until the middle of the night, when I finally drifted off to sleep. In my sleep, I felt a chill and instinctively moved closer to the source of warmth beside me. When I woke up, I heard a woman's laughter from above me. Oscar, I knew you couldn't bear to leave me. I immediately let go, my face flushing, and tried to get up, but she wrapped her arms around me tightly, refusing to let go. Honey, I know you still care about me. Otherwise, you wouldn't have rescued me. You're so good to me. I took a deep breath at a loss for words. How did Leo manage to drug you? It's because you gave him the opportunity. I swear, honey. Leo called me and said he had pictures of you. He tried to blackmail me for $20 million. I had no choice but to go meet him. I never thought it was a trap. As she spoke, Ella planted a kiss on my forehead. Thank goodness for you, honey. You're the best. That man, Leo, I won't let him get away with this. Hearing this, I asked, I thought you said he was just an asset making you money. Has your love for him turned to hate? I never loved him. He used to be the boy toy of Ms. Rain from Apex Tech. I only tolerated him out of respect for her. Now that he's tried to double-cross me, he expects me to be nice to him? Ah, good. I've already had him thrown out. Ella hagmetaitli. Good job, honey. I patted her cheek. All right, let go. You're making a scene. By the way, it turns out Chris is my aunt's son. Ella was stunned for a moment, then it clicked. Chris, David's son? So that's it. I knew my mother would never do something like that. Oscar, you can never scare me like that again. You have no idea. My mother and I almost killed ourselves. I didn't say anything. She hugged me and buried her head in my chest. I sighed and, resigning myself to my fate, wrapped my arms around her. After Ella recovered, Arthur and Catherine also made up. We brought David and his son back to New York with us. The reporters somehow got wind of our return and swarmed our residence. Looking at the crowd outside, I whispered to Ella, how did Leo know where I was? And how did you find me? Honey, that swordsman photo of yours went viral on TikTok. Everyone saw it. Leo got there before I did. He was secretly taking pictures of you, so of course he knew where you were. So that was it. The makeup artist posted my picture, and I hadn't paid any attention. Ella saw it and tracked me down. But now, with this swarm of reporters, I had no idea how to face them. Ella held my hand, and Catherine stood protectively by Arthur's side. They announced to the press that we had miraculously survived and had spent the last 6 months recuperating abroad. When my swordsman photo went viral, online sleuths figured out that I had been running a BB in the Catskills. Recuperating? More like a vacation. I bet their marriage is on the rocks. What about Leo? I heard he got kicked out. I guess the original wife won. Fun fact. Leo was the boy toy of the CEO of Apex Tech. Carrington Corp acquired Apex. So Leo lost his value and got kicked to the curb. Business wars in movies. Epic stock market battles. Business wars in real life. The in-laws jump off a boat. Reading these comments on Twitter was a bit embarrassing. The rumors had definitely had an impact on the Carrington family's reputation. However, Catherine and Ella were ruthless, and soon, all these rumors vanished without a trace. Arthur and I were having tea in the garden when he handed me a credit card. "Dad, what's this for?" "I didn't spend it all, so you can have it. I'll just ask her for more later." Your mother-in-law was crying her eyes out. If I don't spend her money, she gets suspicious that I'm planning to run off again. Their public display of affection was a bit much, but I had no choice but to accept the card. Oscar, a man's position is only secure when his woman feels a little insecure. Should we go check out that bar tonight? Arthur's words took me by surprise. I looked at him, and he gave me a sly wink. I burst out laughing. "All right, you're on." I gave him an okay sign. The two of us had a deal. That evening, Arthur managed to convince Catherine to attend a banquet. I also managed to get Ella to go with her, telling her to keep a close eye on her mother and ward off any unwanted suitors. Meanwhile, Arthur and I snuck off to the bar. I had to admit, the bars in New York City were on another level, far superior in both quality and quantity to the ones back in the Catskills. I watched the women writhe on stage, occasionally leaning down to tease the crowd. The air was thick with pheromones, and one dancer even came up to me and invited me to touch her slender waist. My face turned bright red. Arthur, laughing beside me, couldn't contain himself. "Don't be shy. You paid for the ticket. Might as well enjoy the show." As I reached out my hand, another hand shot out of nowhere and grabbed my wrist. "Honey," I froze. A second later, I saw Arthur being pulled into Catherine's embrace. "What's this?" "Couldn't get enough of a show at home. So you had to come here for more?" "Let me explain." I squinted at Ella, confused. "Weren't you supposed to be at the banquet?" "I was, but then I happened to check someone's location and saw you were here. I knew you two had run off to look at other women." Hearing this, I just laughed awkwardly. Ella raised an eyebrow, grabbed my arm, and dragged me out of there. Behind me, Arthur was being held fast by Catherine. We exchanged a hopeless glance. There was no escape. We had to go with them. Back at home, I was still mourning the hundreds of dollars I'd spent on cover charges, only to be dragged out after 2 minutes. Seeing my dejected look, Ella frowned. "What's wrong? Regret leaving?" I flinched. "No, of course not." "Good. I've decided on a little punishment for you, one that will leave you with no time to even think about other women." I felt a pang of guilt and tried to explain further, but she silenced me with a kiss. That night, Ella took the lead, leaving my back sore and my muscles aching. A year later, she gave birth to our child. I was leaning against the headboard, watching Ella cradle our baby, lulling him to sleep. A warmth spread through my chest. "Honey, to celebrate the baby's 100-day milestone, I have a gift for you." I was about to refuse, but then she handed me a contract. "This production company is now in your name. I've signed a lot of beautiful young actresses. You can look all you want, but no touching. I love you so much, honey." I pounced on her, kissing her endlessly, and Ella laughed as she wrapped her arms around me. In that moment, I felt completely surrounded by happiness. Oh, and by the way, let's not forget about my dear father-in-law.